things were grim. We had this incredible Supreme Court decision that still had not been unleashed, even though the justices' homes had been thronged with violators of their freedoms. Riots and pickets trying to convince them that the last thing they should do is to honor the Constitution of the United States. It was just 7 days ago that we sat there in that mire and that muck, wondering what conclusion will this Supreme Court reach. We didn't know. We hoped. We prayed. Others gritted their teeth, bit their nails, and began to rip their hair out, wondering if perhaps, just perhaps, they could lose the right to butcher their own baby. I know, graphic terminology, and yet that's where we were. And here, 7 days later, a monumental situation has taken place, one we're going to talk about all night with different people, different ways, and different things, because Roe is no more. This is God's Comic, Brad Stine, and you have stumbled in to Brad Stine Has Issues. You can always tell, because it sounds like this. Hey, Wyatt.
Yep. Guess who's back, baby?
I know who's back. Yes. Say, Nick, you're making everything feel right this
finally
week.
Decided to show up on time.
You know what? When he shows up, what does he do, Wyatt? He dominates. He dominates. This is God's Comic, Brad Stine on Brad Stine Has Issues, brought to you by Christian Podcast Central. They love bringing the best of Christian podcasts together into one giant smorgasbord of insight, information, and elegance. So, go subscribe to Christian Podcast Central. One of which has this episode, Brad Stine Has Issues, where comedy, conservatism, and Christianity collide in a cacophony of clarity. Wyatt, I made that up, I don't know, maybe a year ago. And don't you think it's a wonderful roll of your tongue?
It's a bit of, I do like the use of, big-ish words.
Caca words, a lot of caca words.
What I want to know...
Christianity, conservatism, correct me if I'm not wrong.
But what I really want to know is, why smorgasbord? Is that really the best word to describe that?
Do you have a synonym for smorgasbord, son?
I mean, I'm just saying,
I'm
maybe...
just wondering. You just mocked my use of smorgasbord.
I'm just saying, maybe next time you should use a word that people actually know exists.
Everybody knows what smorgasbord means.
Oh, you should. We have a live chat.
Smorgasbord is a fancy word for cafeteria food. You should know that by now.
I thought that was goulash.
Well, goulash is in there. Hey, listen, son, I grew up with goulash, and I actually did an entire comedy routine about goulash. Speaking of comedy routines that I invented all by my lonesome. This is God's Comic, Brad Stine. If you're here for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. You're hearing a voice in the ethers. That's my son. His name, Wyatt Leroy Stine, has the same middle name as I do. I gave it to him because he came from my loins. So I wanted him to have some remembrance when his father passed away, when I began to molder in the grave. He could come to me and kneel down and say, Dad, thanks. He'll probably pick a little blade of grass and chew on it and say, I miss you, Dad. I didn't realize how much I needed that podcast to feel good about myself. And now that you're gone, I'm just this disembodied voice, and it's just not working as well. People think I'm the invisible man because all they see is this empty chair.
Okay, let's be honest.
And you're going to weep when this chair is empty, son.
Let's be honest here. Mm-hmm. The very first thing I will say at your coffin is, finally, I am free of the loins.
Yes, it would be true.
It will be
My
true.
lines will be useless.
I will have time to sorrow later, but right now is anti-loin time.
Yes, my loins
time
will
for
have been
celebration.
dried up and completely made irrelevant.
I was talking more about the reference to the loins, but your idea's good too, I guess.
Speaking of a reference to the loins, as you said, Nick Kress got here in the beginning. What's funny about Nick is he gets on first whenever he feels like it. If he decides to be gone next week or last week, or he decides, hey, I had to work overtime. But the moment he decides to come back, boom, he owns. But guess who came in second? Aw, Karen Boyd. She's our little sweetheart. She's our mascot. Do you think we can call her our mascot, honey?
I don't think
she should be our little mascot. You know, we need to get her a big giant head to wear while she's watching this.
Would it be a head of just her face, but just like 12 times the size?
Yeah, because she's our mascot. But okay. I don't want to. I want to use her beautiful face.
You know what? You've convinced me.
Okay,
we have to do this.
You know who else is here? Dusty Wilhelm. He's third. Gianna Sizemore. She's always here. Amber King here every time.
Boyd, real quick question. What size head do you wear?
Yes.
We need to know this.
Yeah, not hat size, head size. Yeah, if you wanted to be made into a three-dimensional caricature of your actual self, what size head would you like? We'll get into that later. Susan Friendreis is here. Clara Beatty's here. Daisy Walker. Hey, Brad. Gene Sizemore. Life is wonderful. It sure is. Louise Leon. Hi, Brad. Paula Faye Marie Rauchi. She has how many names, Wyatt?
If I remember correctly, it was 5 at last time we checked.
She might have lost one in the meantime.
Oh, really?
You know what it is? She's from Italy. It's the exchange rate. Patty Qualls. Patty Squall. She's here. Bebby Heen McMenanem. Hi, Brad. I'm back. Good to have you. Brian Oberson. Hello. Rebecca Daly Dwyer, hello from Bellefonte, Pennsylvania. Hello to Wyatt also. She always says she's from Bellefonte, Pennsylvania, and we know that. We love it. Bradley Biggs, everyone's saying hi to me. So hi, Bradley. Good to have you here. Clovis Jones, hi guys, from Wayne, Michigan. Barbara Duvall, hi Brad Wyatt. Susan Fredries, hello Brad and Wyatt from Oklahoma. Roger E. Riggle. Adrian Alicia Hensley, hello from Puerto Rico. Bienvenidos. Yeah, Wyatt, I did a little Spanish there. Hi, guys. Barb at Kaz here. Barb Malima, she is here. Clara Beatty. Hey, Wyatt. Clara just said hi to you, Wyatt. Maybe she's got a little crush on you. Sherry Rigdon, you do such a great job. I love what you do. Well, thank you, Cherry. Or shall I say Sherry? Proudly listening to you from the most pro-life state in the Union, Oklahoma. It is indeed. We were just in Ponce for a couple weeks. Kathleen Butler, but she's here. Stephen Conant. Let's see. Hey, Roger Riggle says, tell Wyatt he's being a blatherskite. How about that, Wyatt? Take that.
I'm not even going to try to pretend about imagining knowing what that word means.
Let me tell you something about imagination. If you guys are getting on this for the first time, obviously you came on because you've seen my comedy and you either like it or you hate me and you want to be a troll. And that's happened before, too. We've even had people go on here and they'll say, hey, yes, will you please send me a message on Facebook? Can you send me a friend? I love the way you speak. You make me, it's some kind of, somebody's hitting on our people. It's like some
I think
it's
bot.
Yeah, but they want them, it's like a guy, if it's a woman, he's trying to like hit on her, and if it's a girl, it's a guy hitting on. So what kind of bot is sexually, using provocative sexual type overtures, Wyatt?
The ones that we have.
Oh, we have sexual bots. I am so sorry, folks. I had nothing to do with it.
They were naturally attracted to the sound of all the loin references.
Yes, that would bring anybody in because the bots are getting algorithms, and all they heard was loins, 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 and they said, this is a place for us. Speaking of a place for us, I've always talked to you guys about what makes comedy work and how we all, as comics, see humor in all the same places. Now, we had a very important decision, as you all know by now, on the Supreme Court this week. Roe v. Wade was overturned based on the Dobbs decision, and because of that, it is no longer a law of the land that you have to be allowed the right to get an abortion. Of course, people will still have the right, and it will continue, but people will be able to make decisions as to what area does not give that right, and that's simply what the American Constitution was always trying to do, is that give each community its own DNA as to what it was going to find appropriate. So, you know, incredible decision. We're going to certainly talk about it a lot more. We have a guest that's going to talk about it, but my comedy is influenced by different people. All comedy is. Now, as I've told you guys before, the number one guy that people say over and over and over again, oh, this guy's trying to be George Carlin. And I'm not. I've been doing comedy 30 years. Love George Carlin. Great. Just saw the documentary on him on HBO. You know, brilliant writer, whatever. But, you know, I got to say, I'm not trying to be him or emulate him, but I love his use of words, his intelligence, and that he stood for something. That's what I did. So have I been influenced by him? Absolutely, in certain areas. But I've been influenced by Jerry Seinfeld. I've been influenced by Sam Kinison. I've been influenced by Robin Williams. I've been influenced by, Brian Regan. Anybody that's a great comic, you try to learn from and grow from, even if you've been doing it as long as I have. And all comics learn from others. I saw Seinfeld in one of his latest specials suddenly do some silly sort of faces and gestures that he has never done his whole career. But obviously, he's been influenced by guys that use much more dramatic approach, and he suddenly incorporated it into him. It's still Seinfeld-esque, but he's trying to find other ways as an artist. Comics are artists. So yeah, we're always looking for other tunes, other instruments to play. So I always say that because people who and there are people that hate me because I'm a Christian and I'm a conservative, but so they usually are just have nothing to do but to slam into malign, and it's easy for them to do because they've never had the cojones to sit on stage and try to do comedy, because you got to have some real stones to do that. But it's easy to stand afar and mock somebody. But just that, I always like to throw out a little reminder that other people, as we saw a couple weeks ago, were influenced by me. The guy, the SNL, James Austin Johnson, or whatever his name, who said I was his first influence. He's now on SNL. So does that mean that he shouldn't perform? No, he found his own voice, but I helped influence him. But lines, concepts, ideas are going to be picked up by any comic, and I'm going to prove that. I'm taking a quick clip. This is fast because we're going to get into row, but it's a quick clip from my 2004 special, Conservative Unleashed. It's a whole routine about bumper cars. I'm not going to go through the whole routine. I just want you to hear one specific line that I used, and then I'm going to show you a comic that happened to use the same line like a couple of years ago. Why, go ahead.
I lived in Southern California for 30 years, my friends. You know what they read there? Bumper stickers. That's all they had, bumper stickers. I hate bumper stickers, by the way. I used to see people driving around in $100,000 cars with a bumper sticker on it. Talk about a mustache on the Mona Lisa. Baby, you got a $100,000 car, get the bumper sticker on it. I don't care how smart your kids are. Hopefully they'll be smart enough not to put a bumper sticker on a Ferrari. You moron, Daddy.
Okay, so did it make it all the way to Ferrari? Bumper sticker on the Ferrari. That's what I was trying to make it to.
Yeah, I was just going off of the timestamp you said.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyways, if it didn't, I found this clip of a well-known comic, Sebastian Maniscalco, a very good comic, an Italian guy, and he used this line. Go ahead and play that, Wyatt.
Okay.
And this was just a year or two ago.
People ask me all the time, Sebastian, why don't you get a tattoo? I go, huh? I don't put bumper stickers on Ferraris.
We've been on you for the past 5 seconds, and
Oh,
if you were
sorry.
listening and looking at me doing the
Yeah.
hand signals you so desperately wanted me to give you,
I'm so sorry.
you'd have known that.
I was trying to listen to make sure that I heard him say the line. The line that he used, and this is a fairly recent concert he did, was, hey, why don't you get a tattoo? And he said, hey, I don't put a bumper sticker on a Ferrari. That's what he said.
And did yours? Did we get to that part on yours too?
And I don't know. I've noticed that a
Chat,
couple
did we
times.
mess this up or not? Tell us.
Yeah.
please.
Did you hear me say, I said, talk about a mustache on the Mona Lisa. I started by saying, I seen people with $100,000 cars with a bumper sticker on it talk about a mustache on the Mona Lisa. Then later on, it says, I don't care how smart your kids are, And then I said, don't put a bumper sticker on a Ferrari. So
okay, it appears that we have not messed up this time.
So they did hear that.
They did.
We're almost like professionals, Wyatt,
dude,
did I jinx it?
People should pay us to do this.
Wyatt, they have been paying us to just not completely crash and burn for a year and a half.
And after over 2 years of doing this, I can firmly say we are on our way to that.
Amen. Well, anyways, I just wanted to show you something. Obviously, a comic has nothing to do with me. Never saw my bit, I guess. It's even from a different context. But the punchline about a bumper sticker on a Ferrari, I did in that clip that you saw, which was 2004. So how many years ago was that, Wyatt? That's 18. 18 years ago. And here's him a year or two ago saying the same line. Did he steal it from me? So I always show you guys this as people who are probably interested in comedy, if you're interested in my work, as to how comedy works, the inner workings of it, how comics get together, how they have come across the same material. It's parallel development is the term. You can't help it. If you are a creative person, if you're a musician, and you start doing stuff, how many copyright suits have gone out? And sometimes the musician loses because he comes up with a melody line or a concept that ends up thinking he came up with it. Next thing you know, oh, you just took that from so-and-so, and they lose. These are great musicians. They didn't try to steal that. They didn't mean to. It happens because we're creatives. Why? It's never happened to you, though, has it? You work at Lowe's.
You'd have to be creative to happen to you.
Yeah, so, right. Yeah. That's what I'm getting at. You work at Lowe's. Now, has anybody ever used your technique for example, trying to upsell a drill? Instead of the Black & Decker, you decide, no, I'm going for what's the high-end black? No. You see, is there a high-end drill?
You see, this is how I upsell things.
Yeah.
If you ask me for a quarter-inch regular drill driver with a battery and a combo kit, I will tell you, okay, here's this thing for $70. Get it, get out, please. I want to go home.
You don't upsell?
I downsell.
Wyatt, you are on live. They could be listening. Lowe's executives spend a lot of their evenings scouring the internet for employees who don't upsell because they are trying to get rid of the Black & Decker. I remember you told me that they made an attempt to see if they could get into the marine industry and sell boat parts.
Yeah, they decided in their infinite wisdom that it was a perfectly sound idea to sell boating equipment in a landlocked state.
Anyways, did it work like a charm, son?
Do pigs fly?
Ah, so you're saying that concept sunk?
Yeah, I mean, you could have literally said anything else and it would have been better than a terrible boat pun, but you said the boat pun and now we all have to suffer for it. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Really earning your keep on this podcast, you know?
All right, well, sailing on, I wanted to let you guys know that through the time that I've done this podcast, and many of you who come on every Monday, it's so sweet. It is. It's so sweet. These people that come on every Monday, Wyatt. Do you think it's because they're loyal to me, or do you think it's because their lives are pathetic?
I think it's because there's nothing else on at 7 p.m. Central Time. Central Time.
Well, I think they're wonderful people. I'm so grateful for them. But, as I've told you guys for the year and a half from when this first started, I don't really know if anybody's interested in what I have to say, and next thing I know, here we are in this room. We've talked about it a million times. You guys made that happen. I literally wanted to see if people out in the internet, fellow Americans or fellow Australians or Canadians or whomever, because I get people from all over the world, if they could watch a little guy sitting there who they happen to have heard of because they like his comedy. He sits on his little laptop and just talks like he's got nothing to do, and watch as a studio built around him. You guys saw me in the hot with my just sweating. You guys saw me in the cold with my jacket on because there was no heat or electricity. And I said, if you guys believe in this and you want to help donate to my ministry, we're going to build this around me. And you're going to literally watch as you help create a podcast or a television show is really what it is. It's just done through the internet. Well, you've watched it take place. And one of the things that I would always say to you guys is I'm trying to figure out who I am and what I'm trying to do. My comedy began to describe that probably back in 2003 with the launch of Put a Helmet On, which is the one that put me on the map, and it's my probably still the biggest seller and my most famous album to date. But the thing that I found interesting about all that was that I wanted to be able to expand this into something more important, because when my comedy began to take on social commentary, when it began to talk about the world as I saw it and things that mattered to me, the things that I wanted to say, and it took on this more commentary dealing, segues in between comedy and whatever, that's when my career kind of took off, because I stood for something. I believed in something. And if you believe in anything, you'll be hated. That's the deal, because if you believe in something, that means you have said something else isn't as good, isn't as effective, isn't as important, doesn't measure up. That's just the rules of standing for something. It takes courage, but it also gives you freedom to have some fortitude and some virtue. So as I began to grow this podcast, I thought to myself, what do I want to do? And I said, I don't want to just be another guy that says that aren't conservatives great and aren't leftist idiots. I didn't want to say aren't Christianity great and aren't, atheist idiots. Didn't want to do that, because there's other people doing all those things, finding their tribe and just demagogue into them. And I wasn't interested. I said, what if we can find ways to get better, to find some clarity, to find some healing? What if we can find some way to move into a better place in America, change some things? I don't know if it's possible, but why not shoot for that? And that was kind of the way I wanted to approach it. And so feel like I'm kind of getting a feel for what that's going to look like. You've seen put out a lot of my back catalog. I've got 6 albums of material, so that's why you keep seeing clips out since 2003. But I also realized that I wanted to start to explore. I've been in 20 or 21 movies. You can go look it up on my IMDb if you want to. So I like acting. I like sort of that process. It's another way to create. So I came up with a sketch. And this sketch I wanted you to show, I made sure they got it out last week because I didn't know when Roe was ever going to be decided on, one way or the other. So I had an idea for a sketch. It was a little controversial, a little crazy, but I said, I want to get more of these into the internet as well as my live shows. And so this is what I came up with. And remember, this was before the Roe decision. So I thought I'd show it out to you. Maybe some of you saw it, but if you didn't, this was my take on progressives grappling with the fact that their message isn't getting through, so they need some slogan to hang their hat on. This is what I came up with. Remember, it was just by myself with my phone. It's going to get better, but here's where I got. Go ahead, Wyatt.
Okay, people, settle down, people. Okay, well, if you identify as a person, if you're a place or a thing, let me know and I'll adjust next time. All right, here's the problem. Messaging isn't coming through. We said we were going to build back better, but everything we've tried so far hasn't taken root. For example, we said, let's go with $5 a gallon gas, to show we believe in equity. Somehow Americans aren't buying in. I don't know what to tell you. Then we said, I got an idea. What if we made it harder to find food? Actually, there might be a food shortage, to show that we empathize with third world countries. And again, Americans aren't buying in. You have to remember, whoever controls the words controls the people. So I've got an idea. It might be off the wall, but we've used it before and it worked like a charm. Are you ready? Okay, hang on. Dead babies. I'm sorry, what? I know it might seem a little abrupt at first, but look at this. It worked for us during the Vietnam War. Remember, we wanted Vietnam to end, so what did we call the returning soldiers? Do you remember?
Returning veterans?
No. Do you remember what we called it?
Returning war heroes.
No. We called them baby killers. Remember, it was an immoral war and we needed to put an end to it. And we did, because believe it or not, in the 60s, dead babies, it was a downside. People frowned on it. But now to show that we believe in men and women having equal rights, dead babies are back in fashion. That's what we're hanging our head on. Giving women the right to get pregnant and get rid of that nonsense, just like men have been abusing themselves for thousands of years, getting women pregnant, walking away. It's women's turn to be pathetic and to be irresponsible. Now, if that doesn't give us some boost in this midterms, I don't know what will. So, wait, what?
What if Roe gets overturned?
Listen, I already thought of that. If Roe gets overturned, guess what? We get to call ourselves martyrs. How dare you destroy our freedoms to eliminate our babies? Don't you see? I'm one step ahead of these guys. And folks, here's the good news. If this takes off and everybody buys in, well, guess what's next? I say we go after teens next. We all are annoyed with them. If we can get rid of them, everybody's going to be happier. All right, guys, get to work. I think you're onto something.
So, anyways, see? Look, Ma, I'm an actor. So that was my kind of first attempt at playing around with sketches. I wanted to do more sketches. You guys, as I've said before, and I don't know, maybe it gets redundant for you, but I want you to understand how much you're actually involved in creating this podcast, this show, this ministry, this whatever, however you want to frame it. And the biggest thing to me is I want to take cultural issues from a comedic, conservative Christian point of view and talk about it and put it out there and deal with it and grapple with it without hating the other side, just mocking, more like Babylon B-ish. It's funny, but it has a poignant point. And that's kind of what I want to do. If you like that, let me know. I do want to make more of those. I'm going to keep experimenting. Hopefully, they'll get maybe a little bit more sophisticated. I just wanted to get one out there. I knew it was going to be dangerous. I mean, it's crazy. So, well, I think our slogan should be dead babies. It sounds ridiculous. But that was the whole point, because let's face it, folks, what happened this week is grappling with the fact that for how many years has it been now? We've had it for 50 years.
Yeah, wasn't it like 72?
Let me look here.
It was 72.
Was it?
If not, one of the glorious handsome members
Well,
of the
72 was when it.
I'm a genius. What can I say?
72. Oh, I thought you meant 72 years.
No, 72.
Yeah, 72 is when it was. Yeah. So how many years is that then?
That's 60.
60 years.
Wait. 50
years. All right.
50 years. Yep.
So 1972 with Roe v. Wade.
1973, I was wrong. I'm an idiot. Dang it.
Oh, was it 3?
According to Kalen.
Oh, okay. So when it was instigated.
Okay, apparently your chat does not know when it happened. Just continue with it.
Yeah, I thought it was 72 as well.
It was too.
But anyways, but the big point of Roe was that the Supreme Court had stated that they found a privacy right in the Constitution that said you have a right to get an abortion. Now, obviously, that had never existed before in America as a inalienable right. Certainly, it's not in the Constitution. But then again, the Constitution doesn't say anything like you have a right to get a tattoo, right? So you got to sometimes just sort of get the big picture as to what it's discussing, what it's making us what does it mean to have a right as an American? What do you get? What don't you get? What can you hold on to? What can't you hold on to? And so they found this thing. Now, I want you to understand there's so much to dissect here. What all the leftists who have gone nuts, who have lost their stinking minds over this decision, have said, judicial activism, that they created something that didn't need to be done or didn't exist, or they didn't even have to overturn Roe. Roberts didn't even want to. He just wanted them to adjudicate that particular Dobbs case, which was about Mississippi, saying, is it constitutional to say after 15 weeks you can't get an abortion? They said, just deal with that. But what the Supreme Court said was, there's going to be a lot more cases coming, so we either sort of have to just deal with this now once and for all, or leave it as is, because all these cases are going to wrap around this, and we might as well set a precedent. Now, that's the point. You're saying, well, wait a minute, but it had already been established, right? It was already a law in place. So it's kind of like, I'm not a legal expert. I don't know all their technical terms, but it's kind of like case law, or there's some term for it, stasis, something or other. In other words, if it's been around a while, we just sort of say it's there now, it's solid, it's secure. Okay, so when the Supreme Court said yes to Roe, they broke all that precedent. And those of us who were conservative or have a religious affiliation said, this is evil, this is terrible. Nobody rioted, nobody shot the justices, nobody burned down Planned Parenthoods. They simply said, this is evil, this is wrong, it's bad, but here we are. So when it was overturned, they essentially are feeling what those who want to save the lives of babies, which I didn't know needed an argument, felt 50 years ago. It's like, this is horrifying. But as much as you think it's horrifying for a woman not having a right to go do something that has inconvenienced her or put her in a difficult situation, I'm not trying to make light of it. Some women are in a very difficult situation by being pregnant. I get it. Not trying to act like that's simple. But what could never, ever, ever be disputed was her decision is taking the life of another human being. So many of our privacy rights in America don't deal with the death of another human being. It might be the death of a cultural construct. It might be the death of a DNA of the culture that we all have accepted as the norm, and they've destroyed that. The left's entire purpose, entire impetus is to deconstruct the West, is to destroy it. They are Marxists. They want there to be Marxism, communism, to control. They want power, and they want absolute control. And you can't do that in a free society unless you destroy everything that came before that made you as an autonomous individual, knowing what your rights were and fighting for those. It's why they have identity politics. Put people into groups so no individual can say, no, I want private property. Not now. We're all groups now. Private property's out because for the greater good, nobody gets anything, and you got to love it. That's what Charles Schwab's saying. Nobody gets to own anything, and you got to love it. These multi-billionaires who have so much money and so much power and so much influence that they literally believe they can dictate how humans live on Earth is so disgusting and despicable to me. But that's how the world works, as I've said a million times. Corona has exposed it all. We don't run the show. Somebody else does. So let's deal with some of the crazy that's happened since this has taken place, as far as what people have been saying about it. So first thing that's a misconception. Roe v. Wade has been overturned. They have banned abortions in America. No, didn't do that. Did not ban abortions. What they did, and what I'm excited, I'm going to be very honest with you people, because you're my people. You show up on my Monday nights. I've always been honest and authentic with you. Obviously, I care about the lives of a baby, an innocent baby. Can't get more innocent. We've all been there. We were babies. We didn't know we were babies because we were so innocent. We weren't even able to be aware that we were there. Okay? So they're vulnerable. They're completely at the mercy of their parents, whoever's watching over them. The most innocent. So I want to care for them. I want to protect them. Obviously, that's number one. Obviously, no one should have to debate whether you can kill a baby. It's so absurd. It's beyond rational interaction. But almost equal for me of what I'm most excited about was that they returned the power of this incredibly important, volatile issue back to the states, which is the people. I am hugely pro. We are the government of the United States of America. I'm the government. I'm more powerful than Joe Biden, which isn't hard to do. I'm more powerful than Kamala Harris. I'm more powerful than the Supreme Court. I'm more powerful than Nancy Pelosi. I'm more powerful than the Speaker of the House. I'm more powerful than every congressman, every senator. I'm the people, and we are the government. All those people work for us. That's how it was supposed to work. Supreme Court's entire job was simply to make sure that laws that were made didn't interfere with the original intent of the Constitution. That's another thing that we've heard a lot of. We've got to pack the court because we've got conservative justices in there who are just taking everything away from us and just implementing conservative ideas. That's evil. But that's not what it was supposed to be. I don't want conservative justices on the Supreme Court or in the appellate courts or on the circuit courts. I don't want liberal leftist judges on the Supreme Court, appellate court, or circuit courts. I simply want originalists, justices that can be the most left-leaning voter, right-leaning, could care less. Go to the Constitution. What did it originally tell us? What was the originally enumerated rights? And that's it. Period. Then guess what we don't have to worry about? Judicial activism. Guess what we don't have to worry about? We have too many conservatives on the Supreme Court and they're just going to rule conservative. We got to pack the court with leftists. We don't have to worry about leftists that are turning us into Marxists and stealing our freedoms and our sovereignty, because none of these people exist. It's just the original intent. It's why I always go back to the Founding Fathers. We got to get rid of the Founding Fathers. They're a bunch of old dead white guys from Europe. What do they know? I don't know. They did invent something, though, called the United States. Maybe give them some credit. Wyatt, shouldn't we give them some credit? They were the founders.
I mean, yeah, but how much of it did they really invent?
The whole United States.
But, that was, 13 colonies at that point?
Yes, it was. And guess what? They created the Constitution. They created the Declaration of Independence, and they fought in the war for it. Now, clearly, if you're implying they didn't make everything up from whole cloth.
All I'm saying is, if Wisconsin was the thing back then, Constitution would be whole different, right?
He's right.
Gotta leave some space in there for the cheese activists.
He's right. I can't argue
saying.
with that, son. I didn't know you were going to use the Wisconsin card. Dang it.
Look, man, you can't forget Wisconsin. It's not Wyoming. You don't have an excuse to forget it exists.
I don't.
At least Wisconsin has cows.
They do. You ever been to Wyoming?
No.
Beautiful state.
Can you prove it exists?
No.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone in chat, do you know anyone from Wyoming?
Do we have any Wyoming people on our people?
Well, that'd be kind of weird considering it doesn't exist.
That's a good point.
And if it does exist, somebody from Wyoming prove to me it exists.
Parallel universe. Wyatt.
Parallel.
Wyatt. Parallel.
No. It's just like the flat earthers who think that Australia doesn't exist and that the people who claim to be from Australia are paid actors. Yes, that's a real theory. No, I don't know what it's trying to accomplish.
Okay, well, listen. Let's get back to the more important things. And I'm assuming somebody from Wisconsin will care about this stuff just as much as you do, son.
Which is, by the way, not that much.
Okay, well, anyways, here we go. So what I was trying to get at was, what have we found? Did not ban abortion. They gave it back to the people, to the rights. Do not want to pack the courts or have it filled with conservatives or liberals. Go back to original intent. What else have we found, though, that is so important? Is that we have learned, as usual, we learned this with the George Floyd riots and the Black Lives Matter riots. Leftism never is able to convince the majority of Americans about their Marxist, cancerous ways. Nobody's compelled, nobody's interested in their nonsense. So what do they have to do? Riot, destroy, critique, crush, disparage, malign, and make it uninhabitable. All leftism ever does, have you ever thought about this? All it ever does is destroy. It never creates. It can't. It has no power because it's a counterfeit of virtue. It's a counterfeit. It's a lie. So I look at the riots, I look at from BLM, which worked, and they got all they wanted. The woman that started BLM, who claimed to be a Marxist, were trained Marxists, I think has 4 mansions over millions of dollars because it was a scam. But because corporations are filled with cowards, they've buckled. They buckled. These idiots don't understand that if they would just stand for truth, don't get involved in politics. Don't jump on my side. Don't jump on their side. Just say, we're just here to sell to everybody. You would dominate. Because those of us who are waiting for somebody to not disparage America are the first ones in line to go buy goods at your store or buy your product. But I think that we saw and have been grappling with what happens when you take violence. We don't have any attorney general that's defending these churches, that's defending these PRCs. So the only option is to defend them. This is a Kyle Rittenhouse thing. This kid went there with his gun just to protect a rioting, didn't go find people, was just sitting there on a private property trying to protect. Next thing you know, he's being attacked. He's running away. He ends up shooting some people. He was simply there to protect people's private property. We're watching as pregnancy resource centers are attacked by, and they need to call it this, domestic terrorists. It needs to be domestic terrorists. And when they're captured, they need to be tried with terrorism. Maybe, just maybe, these 18-year-olds from Seattle, from the rich parents that work for, Apple or, work for Bill Gates, if they go to prison for 20 years, maybe they'll learn something. My pastor, Darren Tyler, great pastor, at Conduit Church in Franklin, he said, we're going to get a bunch of guys, and we have a pregnancy resource center that we give to and help for women who are in a difficult pregnancy scenario, and we help them take the baby to term, and they give them opportunity to get food and diapers and everything that they need to keep this baby and then to raise it the best they can. They get all the help we can give them. That's one of the ministries my church has. So he said, we're going to have to defend this place, especially night one at the Roe decision, because we didn't know if people were going to start just blowing the crap out of stuff. And they have. So this is me actually showing you what should have been a night of despair for some, I get it, a night of joy for those of us who believe that life is being saved and we're coming back to what a moral standard should be. And yet we've had to do something, like usual, that the left never has to do. Defend our freedoms and our dignity against ideas that they despise, because they're the only ones attacking us. So here's what happened to me in real time the night of Roe v. Wade.
Hey guys, it's God's Comic Brad Stine. It is in the middle of the night, and I am in front of a pregnancy resource center in Tennessee. There's been an amazing development, as you all know by now, that Roe v. Wade was overturned. Didn't mean that abortion had ended in America. It simply meant that the rights to how Americans would live their lives would go back to the states, and that the people would be the government. So that's an amazing thing. Is there still going to be abortion? Yep. If you're in California, you can still do it. Oregon, any place that votes for it. But because there's been such violence and such horrible attacks on pregnancy resource centers and churches, me and a bunch of men from my church, led by our pastor, said, let's go and stand guard and just let them know there's men here who aren't going to allow you to attack this center, who are simply trying to give women who are in a difficult situation a way to carry their child to term and to take care of them and help them and educate them and give them diapers and food and clothing and things that they can use. So this is just Christ in action. Nobody's rights are being violated. We're just trying to keep kids alive and help a woman in a difficult situation. But unfortunately, it's come down to this. It's going to take men of honor and virtue to stand guard and simply let their presence be known, that you're not going to go violate these places. This is free speech. This is the way that this ministry wants to run, and religious liberties and freedoms and First Amendment rights are much more important than those who think they can destroy it by riots and uncivil maligning and destroying of the freedom that's made America great. So we'll be here all night, and we'll continue to try to protect and defend life, hopefully in a kind way, in a loving way, but sometimes you have to be prepared to do what's necessary so that freedom can reign, and sometimes it costs you something. So here I am doing my little thing because I've been a pro-life advocate and have been helping Pregnancy Resource Center fundraisers for years. So now it's just doing the dirty work, but that's what it's all about. God bless you, folks. Just wanted to let you know what was going on and to hopefully encourage other churches and other men throughout this nation to go protect and defend these places. Talk to you later.
So that was real. I mean, that's just a regular guy, just a comic with his church, just going out just to be a presence. And that's really, you know, I got to tell you something. The Revolutionary War, the Civil War, these were regular people, regular Americans who actually took time and risked their lives and their safety and their comfort because there was a bigger issue at hand that had to be dealt with. And that's really what this is all about. You know, it is an exciting time for us. I mean, when we've seen so much darkness lately, when we've seen so much go sideways in America, so much of the postmodern, secular, humanistic, relativistic, neo-Darwinistic, right, you know, elements that are supplanting the Judeo-Christian moral ethic that started this great nation. You know, you can get disheartened. You say, God, there's so many of us that don't want to lose this. We're praying, we're fighting, we don't know what to do. But one thing I've noticed in the corona was another great exposure of that was the cowardice of so many pastors who shut down their churches, who allowed the government to tell them how or when or if they could worship. And when they did, they had to wear these masks of fear, even though there's clearly that we had proven that this was not effective. We'd proven it through data, not through some crazy right-wing conspiracy theory. The 6-foot thing we found out was something they pulled out of thin air because they needed to find a distance. They didn't know what it was. There was no evidence for it. So they simply picked 6 foot, and then MIT did a study and said this didn't do any good. So we already know, we're way past that. But I literally judge churches now. If I get to know a church, I simply ask them one question. What do you do for Corona? That tells me who the pastor is, who the deacons are, who the elders are. And it's supposed to be filled, I'm sorry, with men. Men who are powerful, men who are leaders, men who are committed to defending righteousness and virtue and innocence and defending women. Men are supposed to defend women. There was a time when a woman was supposed to be, they were considered the fair sex, and that they were to be watched over and protected and treated with kid gloves out of respect, like they were fine china or, this amazing masterpiece that a man needed to treat with great respect as a gift to him from God. I mean, and that's what feminists wanted to fight against? They don't want that? Well, that's what I did, and it shouldn't have to happen, but it does. And we need more and more men, Christians. You don't have to be a Christian. You can be an atheist and come support, if you believe in freedom and free speech, come be with us. But all these ideas are generated from the Judeo-Christian Western ethic that we have used for 2,000 years to change and basically create the West. From whole cloth and change the world in a way that's never been changed and will never be changed again as significantly because God came to earth and revealed himself. That's what makes this so fascinating, so amazing. Well, last week, I had a guest on, Victoria Robinson. She's a friend, an old friend. I told you I met her at a meeting at a showing for my movie Persecuted. We were in Beverly Hills, I think, with her daughter. And they had a reality show, and I got to meet her for the first time, found out she was in Nashville. We became friends, found out she was part of Pregnancy Resource Centers. This is a big pro-life guy. She's been doing it 20 years. I've been doing it 20 years. And I brought her on last week, and she talked about her story, a tragic story where she had an abortion after having 2 children of her own, and how it broke her heart and how it was devastating her, how it's haunted her whole life. And yet God helped her through it. And she used that as a springboard to begin to help other women out of that situation by carrying their child to term and giving her back her dignity and the hope that this can be the most great, amazing decision you'll ever make. And we said last week, it's like, look, let's get you back on someday and we'll talk more. And let's really talk about the men and how they're affected, because that's completely neglected in the abortion discussions. And when we talked about it last Monday, the Roe decision still hadn't dropped. Nobody knew. And we said, what's going to happen? And we were like kids in a candy store. You know, we're just praying and hoping that this is really going to happen, that this evil, immoral law is going to be thrown out. Now, I know some people said, hey, it's not right. It's been there for 50 years. Should have stayed. If you're saying that because the law the Supreme Court made has some length, thus it should remain, then you shouldn't have complained when the Supreme Court came up with the idea of separate but equal, that allowed basically the right for African Americans not to have the same privileges as the rest of America because of a Supreme Court decision that lasted over 50 years. It was overturned too. Exactly like Roe was. It was there for years, and then finally was it Plessy versus Ferguson? Was that? No, that was the original. That was the separate but equal. The Board of Education. I forgot the name of the Board of Education suit. Brown versus the Board of Education. That's what ended that bad decision that had been there for years. Why didn't we just leave it as such? So that's just what happened with Roe. Another very rare overturning of a law that was around a long time, and it was evil. And you know what Martin Luther King said? An unjust law is no law at all. So I thought to myself, I'm going to call Victoria up, and if she's around, she's a busy lady, let's bring her back on and say, look what happened in a week. And let's just sort of finish our discussion that we are going to have back then. So I'm going to switch over to her. I'm going to move my camera here. Mm-hmm. I think that we're going to be able to not have the echo, because I figure that find out if she's there. Woohoo!
Is your volume on?
All right, so my volume's on. Can you hear me? Here we go. Hang on. You're there. Okay.
Hold on. Oh.
You got me on, buddy? Hang on.
I don't think her volume's on.
Is your volume on, babe? Yeah. And you can hear me. Okay. So we're not getting the echo, but I just don't hear you right now. Are you at the same place you were last time? Make sure you're not muted.
Yeah, her audio's on.
Okay.
On our end.
Okay, your audio's on our end. She can hear me from my end.
Yeah, it's just her audio isn't coming through on her call.
Can you hear it from you, Wyatt?
I can.
Try to talk, Victoria. Say something.
Let me check.
No, it's not coming through here.
Yeah, I'm gonna check directly through the.
Hang on.
Thing.
Here we go again.
You never have a stream without something happening. All right.
Try again. Go ahead and say. No.
Yeah. No. Okay. Hold on.
Okay.
Tell her to turn her volume off and then back on.
Can you turn your volume off and back on? Try that. Oh, okay. Should she call back in, maybe?
Maybe, yeah, we can try that.
Why don't you call back in? Let's try that.
Can you? Did you?
I just turned off my vMix.
I didn't really want you to turn off. Yours was working fine.
It's all right. We'll figure it out,
Okay,
folks.
just log back on it.
Okay, how do I get on there? Idiots running the show. That's Chrome right there. But it comes up and says bing.com.
That's fine. That's totally fine.
Okay.
Okay, so just go to vmixcall.com. That's what we use.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay. So
my name.
password is going to be 127.
Hang on. All right. 127
851
851.
6729.
Okay, let's try that. Boing. All right, I'm on a blue screen.
Yep, there you are.
Yeah,
Cool.
but I don't see Victoria. If things didn't go haywire. So let me make sure I've got my volume on. Yeah. Can I hear myself? And we're going to try again for the millionth time to see if we can figure out how to get somebody on. You know, one thing we should probably need to do is we need to have a way to pre-production when somebody comes on to make sure we can hear them, make sure they can see us. I wonder if there's a way to do that, where you can actually have a professionally run system that allows you to make sure the person that's on is really there.
There
So
are ways to make sure that it'll work in terms of will vMix accept it, but in terms of
is she coming on now?
I'm getting there. I'm getting her
Okay.
code right now.
So, but we're still on, right, with everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're good.
So, guys, as you know, I need to be honest with you guys. Someday, this is never going to happen again. Someday, we're going to ask for our guests to show up, and they're going to show up, and you're going to hear them, and you're going to see them, and you're going to hear me, and you're going to see me. Someday, when we say to play clip, it's going to nail it. It's going to be right on. It's going to end right when it's supposed to. Someday, the lighting will be perfect every time. Someday. And then you're going to miss these horrible glitches. You're going to miss this pathetic attempt for me to put together my little podcast and talk to you guys. You're going to miss it. It's kind of like, you know, that loved one that you're married to for many, many years, and they snore and you can't stand it, and you go sleep in the closet, and then one day they pass. And you go, you know, I would give anything for her to snore just one more time. There she is. If only I can hear her, please, God. Hello, hello, hello. All right, I don't hear, and I don't know what else.
So I'm trying to remember what the keyboard shortcut is, but I think the issue is that she is simply muted on her computer.
Yeah, but she would know if she's muted.
Is there any way for her to turn up any volume?
Can you turn up your volume and make sure your volume is up, Victoria? We're trying every possible, and we're not saying it's your fault, but we don't know what else to do other than to see if you can do your volume.
Oh my gosh, come on.
Yeah, she said she could call by the cell phone, she said. Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah, call her. Call her cell phone or something. Why?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. My son will call you. So what I was saying to you guys though was, and we're going to try to see if we can figure this out. Now, who knows why? Why did glitches happen, and why do they only happen with Victoria Robinson? Why is she, when she talks about this very, very important issue, having so much troubles coming on? Now, last week,
it was my fault. I don't know if I told you all this before, but last time when she first came on and it was like echoing, it was terrible, and we were all going nuts and we were like ripping our hair out. Well, guess what? I through this when I use my computer, I ran the I run the Facebook so I can see you guys' threads. That's how I know to say hi. Hey, Joe. Hey, Fred. Hey, Karen. Hey, Nick. I can do that because I'm watching the Facebook coming from Wyatt. The problem was it becomes another tab. So when they put the vMix on, my tab was on. So when I was talking to Victoria, it was coming through the Facebook and echoing back and forth. And I didn't realize it. And then I thought, oh, maybe I should turn that off. And I X'd out of Facebook. And next thing I know, everything went fine. So we figured that out. I actually X'd out of Facebook. Before she even came on. I just got rid of that thing. So I didn't have any shot at making a mistake this time. And I was on and I could hear it. And sure enough,
I hear her. And she was on. I thought this is going to be perfect.
So are you really turn up your
Check.
Turn off your computer audio. Are you literally doing a play by volume? Turn it off. Okay. Are you really doing a play by play of everything that we've been trying to do?
Well,
to make
I
this
want my people to know what it's like to have two inept tech idiots
listen,
who don't. Now we all know
they don't have to imagine what that's like.
That's true.
Okay?
But one thing we have learned, and you guys have been here from the get-go, is Wyatt's come a long way. I couldn't do what he does because he's figured some stuff out. But it's not perfect, and we're hoping. Oh, and there's one thing I should tell you, so you guys know where your donations go. We picked up a few more items that are going to allow me to add the other camera, so I can have a live guest. But we got another special thing that I think is going to help even fix this glitch. We got a little monitor thing that's going to go up in front of the major big camera. That's not what I'm using right now.
Hold
on, that allows me to see my guest straight ahead, not using the laptop. So what's going to happen is...
Try it.
Hi.
Volume on.
Can you hear me?
Hi. Oh, there she is.
Yeah.
I can. Why couldn't? What happened? How did you fix it, Wyatt?
I'm on my phone.
She's on her cell phone.
Oh, you're on your cell phone.
Which I guess works.
Don't matter. All that matters is Victoria Robinson's here and Roe Wade isn't. That's all that matters.
Okay, so can we have a moment of silence?
Yes.
And can I say this for the third time? What a difference a week makes, buddy.
I mean, I think we all kind of assumed that this was the way that the court was going because the fact that everybody was losing their crap from the left and nothing had come out. It's like they know stuff. It's being leaked beyond even what we knew because why are they getting crazy? We don't even know what if it comes out and says, no, it's still the same, but they knew something was happening because they were preparing them for riot, clearly.
Oh, listen, we heard about the Homeland Security putting out warnings to pregnancy resource centers, to pro-life organizations, and Catholic churches to be. Yeah. I mean, come on, we knew it was coming, but I'm telling you, Brad, I'm out of town. I've been speaking all week in North Carolina. I'm not back home in Tennessee yet, and I was driving my car. And my best friend, Valerie, sent me a text and said, Vic, they're about to announce it. So I found it somewhere online because I didn't have a TV in my car. And I had to pull my car over in the Chick-fil-A parking lot, which is kind of appropriate that Chick-fil-A just happened to be there. Because I stopped crying. I was so emotional and it hit me like I never expected it to hit me. But everything just kept flooding to me. The fact that had Roe been overturned 35 years ago, I would not have had the opportunity to have an abortion. If I had to drive to a blue state to get one, I would have had that extra time to think about it longer. That afternoon, my boyfriend who'd pressured me called and said, you know what? I've changed my mind. We can figure this out. And it was too late. I mean, I am convinced there are going to be so many children that are going to have a testimony in the next 10, 20 years and say, I would not be here had it not been for June 24th, 2022. And I would not be here. But my mom had a chance to think about it. My mom thought, what am I supposed to do? I don't have time to go to another state, whatever the case is. And I'm here because of what happened. And that his mother and father don't have to live with the trauma of choosing abortion. So I know there's a lot of people going cuckoo cuckoo right now. It's like, some of the most asinine things are coming out of people's mouths, the things they're spewing now, because they're trying to, once again, Brad, the pro-abortion side, the pro-death side, are trying to manipulate people once again into believing lies. And I'll tell you what, man, it's pure insanity.
Yeah, well, it is. And, as I said to before you came on to my friends out there, I said, let's take a handful of things that have been said and kind of disprove them. The first thing that was said was Roe's overturned, so they've just outlawed abortions. They didn't outlaw abortions. All they did was return abortions to the states, back to the people. If you're a state that doesn't want that, you should have the right to not have it. If you're a state that wants it, that's your right. Is it immoral? Yeah. Is it seem ludicrous that you would have to reason with somebody as to whether they should have the right to kill their baby? Yeah, it does. But we live in a postmodern, secular, humanistic culture that we have to battle, and we don't control it. We're not a theocracy. They have a right to try to persuade people to give them the things that they desire. And honestly, Victoria, as much as it's despicable, guess what? That's what God does for us. God gives you the freedom. He doesn't, if you go to get an abortion like you did, he didn't stop you. He didn't send a lightning bolt down and kill you.
Actually, he tried. He tried, and he tries to stop us from doing a lot of things. He gives us those open doors. We're the ones who don't walk through them, because I can tell you there were open doors that day when I look back.
Yes.
So,
well, I don't mean that he approves. I don't mean that he approves of it. But what I'm saying is that he doesn't grab you by the arm and not let you have your own will. That's what I'm getting at. Is God gives us that.
I'm saying he also can give you a way out. We just don't always take it. But we're not robots, He doesn't force us to love him, force us to do what he says to do. He says, hey, go ahead, do what you want. Everything is permissible, but things are beneficial. And so, we're the stupid idiots who are so well, I want to do what I want to do, and it's going to be my way or no way, and I don't want to listen to anything some guy in the sky says. I'm telling you right now that if you choose his ways and not your ways, your outcomes are going to be much better.
Well, it is. And by the way, just for you folks out there, as a special treat, since we had such little glitches along the way, if you'd like to ask Victoria a question, if she has a mind, just a few people, maybe somebody does, maybe you don't. But Wyatt, if you can get on your phone, okay. If somebody has a question for her specifically, whether it's about her story, whether it's about something that deals with pregnancy resource centers or anything like that, I'll give you a chance to ask a question that you don't always get a chance to do that on a podcast. And I know sometimes when I watch, I wish I could ask something. So that's something we can throw out there. But here's something that I find really interesting about where we're at. We're only, a few days into this thing. So who knows how it's all going to pan out and what type of things are going to have to be adjusted as the dust settles and people start understanding how the game works. I saw a meme or whatever you call it of a guy. He said, hey, guess what I just did? He's probably a man, 22, 23, young guy. He said, guess what I just did? I just had an operation. I went out and had a vasectomy. He said, listen, women are the ones that pay the price. I hear it's reversible. So come on, guy, do the right thing. Go out and get your vasectomy. And then when you're ready to have babies, go. And I just saw this. Now,
oh my gosh.
As much as that, it's, it's kind of like getting your tubes tied.
Hey, that's a little ambitious of him, don't you think, Brad? He must think
he's very ambitious.
He's going to be getting lots of action that he's so sure he's got to get a vasectomy.
Well, right. He's got a big head, but he, no pun intended. But but the point that I think what I was wanted to make about this is, number one, who knows if he'll be able to get it fixed. It's like getting your tubes tied as a woman. Sometimes it messes it up, but that's beside the point. He did this thing. It's virtue signaling clearly to say what a good man I am. But I want to make a bigger point, because I think it's indicative of what might be coming. And it's what guys like you and I have been saying all along. What he kind of just said to us in 3 days that he wouldn't have thought of before is, I have to be responsible for not getting a woman pregnant. It's like, yeah, that's kind of what we've been saying all along. If you get a woman pregnant, you too are now mother and father, and you need to make it right and take care of this child. And if you don't want to do that, give it to a parents that would like to have a kid that can't, and they'll adopt it. You don't get to kill it, obviously. Right. So I find it interesting that in his probably in your face, I'll show you guys, I'll just get a vasectomy. Now what are you going to do? It's like, you're proving our point. You actually did something that was noble to a degree.
Okay, so but hold on a second. So big deal. Okay. You went and got your little thing snipped, whatever it is, whatever. I mean, come on. How about standing up and being a man and respecting a woman? How about standing up and being a man and having character? How about standing up and being a man who cares more about a woman for who she is rather than saying what she wants to hear to get in her pants? How about being a man like that? Then you won't need.
And I agree with you. And let me make it very clear. I'm not saying I admire what he did, like he did something noble. He thinks it is. But what I am getting at is he changed something about himself because he realized that he was no longer going to have this easy out if he got a girl pregnant. What I'm getting at is, when you set standards in a culture as to what's expected of you, you make some behavioral changes. Yeah, so that's the whole point of morality. The whole point of morality is God is making a standard we're supposed to rise up to. We will fail. We'll make mistakes. He'll forgive us. If you believe in Jesus, he sees you as perfect. But the whole point is, let's not settle for the lowest rung. Let's set the bar as high as it can be and shoot for that. And so what's interesting is, without him, he's thinking it's an encumbrance because he's now had to have this operation. He's showing how these, and like I said, he's just doing it because he wants to get laid. But the point is, it proved a point that you should have been doing this all along. You're going to take on a responsibility of taking this woman into an intimate scenario that was supposed to be for marriage, at least. Protect her from a child who should have only been conceived by people that love each other and are committed to spend their lives raising that child. That's why the family is so crucial, because they're supposed to make the next citizens that come through your culture. And having a male and a female to give them those two gender-specific constructs, they raise the child the best they can be. Last week, though, I mean, we can't help but be excited about this amazing. It's mind-boggling. I remember when I texted you.
And I'm not going to apologize for it either. I've been hearing that people saying, even Christians, okay, it's time to take it down a notch. You guys don't be rubbing it in their face. Are you kidding me? We've been praying for 50 years for this to happen. You think I'm not going to celebrate it and shout it from the rooftops and thank God for what happened? This is a miracle that I never thought I'd see happen in my lifetime, Brad. Ever. And I'm convinced, Brad, what you just said to your point with this guy getting his little snip thing, I'm convinced that more people now will start taking more responsibility. Girls will start thinking twice about, I think I'll just sleep around, because this flippant attitude of, if I get pregnant, I'll just get an abortion, because I've heard it. So maybe now they'll take a little bit more responsibility for the way they conduct themselves. The choice needs to be before you step into that bedroom with that guy, honey, not after.
Yes, of course. And we all agree with that. We can't make people, it's funny, you hear that old saying, you can't legislate morality, which is a foolish statement. all we do is legislate morality. You're not allowed to kill somebody. You're not allowed to steal from somebody. You're not allowed to go 58 miles an hour. Morality is what law is designed to inhabit, or to create a parameter so we know what the rules are. So we do, in fact, legislate morality. What I can't do is make you obey it or become moral. That I can't do. That's a choice you will have to make as an autonomous agent that God gives the freedom to do that. So as someone who has been in the trenches maybe about as long as I have, or longer, in that pro-life movement, to see so much of these years of just saying, can we just reduce abortions? I think, honestly, I think the thought of thinking this was actually going to happen was going to be a miracle. I mean, it was going to have to be a miracle the way we saw it. But it happened. A miracle happened. So we got it. What do you think was the biggest thing for you, as somebody who's been so adamant and fighting for this and passionate about this, and weeping with women who've gone through abortions and never being able to forget the one that you endured, and the things that might have been different had Roe not existed? What do you think is the greatest thing that you take away from this personally? I mean, you've said maybe all there is, but that
For me personally, gosh, it's so many things, Brad. There can't be one thing. For me, it's just the fact that I don't want to see someone walk through what I've had to walk through for 35 years. I don't want to see that. You know, people try to accuse people like me of only caring about the unborn child. That's simply not true. Number one, as a Christian, I know when that child's aborted, that child is with Christ, immediately with Christ. But those parents are left behind to deal with the ramifications of the choice of choosing abortion. So for me, it is not just the unborn children that will be saved. And that is massive and that is wonderful. But it's also for me, because this is what my life's work has been for 26 years. It's the men and women that will not have to deal with the choice of abortion. For me, it's also it was a miracle. It's a literal miracle that I saw this happen in my lifetime. I've gotten the most ugliest messages, Brad. Some of them I'm having to screenshot because I've been advised to do that with some of these threats. It's unbelievable. And I will tell you that there was one guy who said, "Why don't you keep your effing mouth shut?" Because but I hope if you get pregnant that you end up, we're gonna abort your baby, or some kind of craziness. So I had to let him know, hey buddy, that ain't ever gonna happen, for one thing, because I've already had menopause, so I'm good. That isn't gonna happen. But he didn't like that answer. But the other thing is that people keep saying, well, why do you care? You can't have more children. You're too old to have more children. Well, I have 10 grandchildren, and I don't want them to grow up in a world where life is so devalued that we can kill children up to birth. I want my grandchildren, long after I'm gone, to say to each other, or to talk about their Mimi and say, our Mimi fought that fight. And I didn't just fight it for me, my unborn child, or for other parents. I have been fighting this fight for my own grandchildren as well. So it is just so many things, Brad. I tell you, I'm still on a cloud. I am. I still have moments where I get emotional because I feel like it's so surreal. Did this really happen? And I will never forget, ever, for the rest of my life, where I was in Hickory, North Carolina that day, in a Chick-fil-A on Highway 127, when I got the news that Roe had been overturned. You know, there's the things that impact. When Elvis died, you just know.
Yeah. Well, it was so cool though, because we had just done the interview a couple of days before, and that's why it was so fresh. And I remember I just texted you, Roe is no more, and you just sent back, I can't breathe. That was perfect. But let me ask you this then, because last time that we talked, we said we wanted to talk about men and men's role in all of this, and where they're left out oftentimes in the discussion. Men have had horrible reputation throughout history of abusing women,
for sexual gratification, but not then oftentimes stepping up and protecting her and marrying her and watching over the kid when she got pregnant. It's the oldest story in the book. But you had said last week, and now that we're here, let's not forget, abortions are still going to happen. There's still going to be fights for this. The Louisiana judge immediately put a stay on the trigger laws to say, nope, you can keep having abortion, probably to see how this is all going to play out. But there's going to be people that aren't going to give this up, like, okay, well, we tried. No, they're going to try to continue to do this. So tell me about men and your experience in, oftentimes we know the ones that have been the heels that haven't been there to protect and defend and to man up, as we used to say. But what about the ones that wanted their child and the woman decided she was going to abort it and he had no say so? What about the man that wanted to do the right thing and she suddenly wanted nothing to do with it? What is the psychological ramifications you've seen that men have endured and seem to have been completely ignored in this conversation and completely been stripped of any dignity or voice? We literally have that as a meme. If you don't have a uterus, shut the F up. It's like, what? You didn't get this kid by magic. There was a man about it. So tell me that story about the things that you think are so important for men's role and experiences that and healing perhaps that they need.
Well, I have to say, start it with this, because for 10 years after my abortion, I grew to hate and resent the father of my aborted child, Brad, because of the pressure he put on me to abort. So for all of those years, I had plenty of time to grow resentment towards him. When I went through my healing 10 years post-abortion and then wrote my first book, They Lied to Us, I called him because I thought he should know about it. Only calling him, basically, you know, I don't, at the time, I just thought, I feel like I'm supposed to do this. I thought I'd forgiven him because I had gone through a retreat just prior to calling him. And when he answered the phone and I said, "Hey, it's me," he just began to sob. And I couldn't even understand him. And he was trying to tell me, because he finally did, "I've been waiting for this call for over a decade to beg you for forgiveness, to ask you to forgive me for what I made you do. I should have protected you. I should have protected our child. I failed you both. And I've been in therapy 8 years dealing with it. Can you ever forgive me?" In that moment is when I had my revelation, Brad, that men are hurting too. Because number one, I realized I had not fully forgiven him and I needed to for my own healing to come full circle. But the second thing I realized was, wow, these guys are hurting. I thought he had gone on with his life, forgotten all about me and our baby, and just was, you know, enjoying the his life and never thinking about us again. And it was not true. So in that moment, I felt, as a Christian, the Holy Spirit speak to my heart. And I felt God speak to my heart and say, do not forget these fathers. These children had fathers and mothers. So what infuriates me about this whole shut up, sit down, get in the corner, it's not your body, your choice. It's not her body either. It's two separate bodies. Let's make that clear. And then I heard somebody today in an interview spewing, "I believe the science," when someone asked her about, are you for mandates of vaccines? And she said, yes, but she's also pissed off about Roe being overturned. I mean, it's insanity. So you know, we need to understand that men have been basically emasculated in this country, Brad, when it comes to many issues. We don't need a man for anything. Men are no good. Men are this, men are that. And it's just simply not true. There are good men who want their children and want to step up. It is not right that a woman gets to choose exactly what happens to that baby. It is not right. And I'm telling you from a woman's perspective, it is not right. That child was not just poof in your womb. That child was created because of the man. Even if you tell me, well, I can do in vitro, and yes, you can, and be artificially inseminated. Oh, yes, you can. But guess what? You still needed the man's sperm. You're not getting a baby without those little fish. Okay. It's not happening. And it only comes from a man, not a woman who says she's a man, from a man. A man is the only one that can help you make a baby, no matter how you make that baby. So the pain and the suffering that I see men go through it's deep. But the thing is, Brad, they've been silenced. They've been told, keep your mouth shut. You have no say. So they don't know what to say. So as I've met men throughout my travels, and I always talk about men and abortion and the pain they go through anywhere I speak, whether it's a church, whether it's a fundraising banquet for a pregnancy center, whether it's an event, a conference, it doesn't matter. I don't ever not speak about the men ever since that phone call. And these men approach me at my book table, Brad, or they'll ask me to speak with them in private to share and confess their abortion stories. And these men are broken. They are hurting, they are broken, and they're telling me the same stories of what they've gone through that women are telling me who chose abortion. Because, Brad, God created women to nurture and to bring life. We give life. That's how God made us. He created men to be the ones who protect, the ones who go out and kill to bring home the food. That's how God created us. It is not in our nature as men or women to kill our own children. So when a woman realizes what she's done in an abortion, that's why she's devastated. When a man realizes he did not protect his own, that's why he's devastated.
Well, what about the man that can't protect his own because he doesn't have any rights? And the woman says, I'm getting an abortion. There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, should there be, there's probably going to be more aggressive abortions in some respects because there's going to be some states that, like California, that were so ridiculous. Hey, you can try to get an abortion. The kid comes out fully formed and you can let it die. I mean, they've taken it to such a degree of evil. I don't even know what to do with that. So what about the man, though, that hasn't any way to defend that child if the woman has decided, shouldn't there be laws in place that could even brought in to protect his right?
Yes, I agree with you 100%. But it's going to take men standing up and saying enough is enough. These are our children too. It's going to be women getting behind those men saying, I agree with them and I'm a woman with a vagina and I agree. I'm the one who can get pregnant, but these guys have the right to fight for their children. And that's what it's going to take. Laws need to change. No question about it, Brad, because we have a lot of wounded people walking around, men and women. 72 plus million abortions that we know of since Roe v. Wade. Back in 1973, January 22nd, 1973, my mother's birthday, when it was passed, that's 140 plus million men and women walking around. Let's just say, I always say this, Brad, because people say, well, everybody doesn't regret their abortion. I do it again and I've had 6. Okay, well then we'll count you out. But let's take 10% of that 140 plus million people that are walking around wounded with open wounds that are oozing and they don't know who to talk to. They are too afraid to speak up. They're afraid of being condemned. They're afraid of being rejected. They already feel rejected by God because they think God would never want anything to do with me because I chose abortion, which, by the way, if you're listening and you've had an abortion, God forgives all things, including abortion. And he can redeem that part of your life if you allow him to do it. So there are a lot of people walking around who have been silenced, and it's time for them to step up, to stand up. And I don't think it's going to happen, Brad, as fast as we want it to without after abortion trauma recovery, which is why I've been involved in that kind of ministry for over 2 decades.
So what would you say to people who are celebrating, Christians, but Muslims are anti-abortion, committed Jews are anti-abortion, and there's probably atheists that are anti-abortion.
Yep.
There's pro-life folks that come in all shapes and sizes. So yeah, I'm not going to not be grateful for, I think when people say, don't rub it in their faces, I think there's a difference between just saying, thank you, God, that life is being held sacred again. Thank you, God, that we're not a nation that acts as though this is irrelevant, that a baby is dying. That's one thing. That's different than saying, in your face, screw you. I mean, that's obviously has no value. But
How would
Right.
you guide people who are very pro-life and have seen this situation happen as to how should they approach family or friends or neighbors or whomever who are going to be very emotionally distraught by this?
I
Um,
think you better be gentle. I think, sometimes it's difficult, and take it from me. If I listen, it's by the grace of God that I don't go all over my social media saying all kinds of things. Trust me, Brad, I've had to delete many, many posts that I've wanted to post. But I try to take a deep breath and realize that these people are hurting. They're scared. They're confused. They've bought into a lie for decades. They believe
mhm.
that their rights have been stripped. Not true. Go to a blue state if you want an abortion. You can still get an abortion in this country. It's simply not true. It went back where it should have stayed 50 years ago. Okay. We just did, the Constitution did exactly what it was supposed to do. So, and that's why Roe was overturned. It should have been decades ago. And as I said, it should have never happened. But you've got to be gentle. I've had many, many messages from people that are losing friends. They're getting blocked. They're even family members. Someone wrote me the other day and said she saw her first fight, literally a fist fight in her family over this issue. I would say you need to take a deep breath, because right now things are very fresh. Right now people are fearful. And when people are scared, they lash out. But I also want to say this. There are many people that are pro-choice who are also spewing hatred, and they're angry and they're in your face. You may not know, or I'm sorry, that are pro-choice who are also post-abortive. You may not know they've had an abortion themselves, or someone that is close to them has had an abortion, so they have to stand up for abortion, or then it's like admitting I did something wrong, or the person I love did something wrong. So I am convinced many pro-choice people have an abortion in their past, or someone they, as I said, close to them did. So be gentle. And look, I have to take my own advice sometimes. Now, I have a different platform than you may have, Brad, or some of your listeners in their homes, and they don't have the research that we have because we've had to do it for our work. They don't have the knowledge that we have because of our work. So it may not be an argument they want to get in, because then it's going to they're going to feel defeated, and they're going to feel beat up if they don't have the answers. I would say do your research. Go live action is a great resource to learn how to combat, or how to, in a respectful manner, the questions that you're going to get. But we got to remember, and I have to take this advice myself, that I've got to do what I do in love, because I know that everyone who's reading a post or who's hearing something I say could be triggered by something I say. And I've got to look at them and love them as Christ loves them. I don't always succeed, Brad. I don't walk on water, and I have never raised someone from the dead. Okay. I am not Jesus. And if anyone thinks they've arrived, let's pray that lion demon out of you, because none of us have. But as Christians, we just need to be sensitive. We can be sensitive and bold. One of the greatest things that I love when people say to me is, Victoria, I'm pro-choice, but I still follow you on social media because I've not ever felt judged, condemned by you. I've tried to keep an open mind to listen to what you have to say, but I appreciate that you don't condemn me because I have a different view than you do. And that's a great compliment. I don't want anyone to ever feel, do I get angry? Yeah, I get angry. I have righteous anger, no question, especially when I hear some of the idiotic things coming out of people's mouths who should know better and do know better. Someone who's too ignorant that says something because they're just repeating what someone else says is one thing. But someone whom I know knows better, especially that's in the abortion industry, that's spewing the lies and the manipulation, that's when the gloves come off for me.
Yes. Well, so I don't know how early you got on, or if you saw the part where I was at a pregnancy resource center the night of Roe, where we went with a bunch of men. It was in Tennessee. It's an area that was pretty conservative, so we weren't necessarily thinking that this is probably going to be very dangerous, but you never know. Everything was brand new, so we went to a pregnancy resource center with a bunch of men from our church, and we just stood out there. They said that a lot of the problems were happening 10. Oh, her battery must be dying on her phone because she walked
My
away. You
battery's
plug it
dying,
in.
so I just
That's
put
what
it
I
back
figured.
on.
Yeah, that's what I
Just
figured.
plugging in my
So,
phone.
yeah, no, that's no problem. Trust me, we've done much worse glitches than that. But we went down there, and they said that most of the problems had been between 10 and 2. So we went down there basically from around 9:30 in the evening till 2:30 that night, just watching, just basically saying, we didn't have like AR-15s out or what, what I mean? We were just kind of letting them know there's somebody here, there's men here, and they're paying attention. And you're not going to be doing any vandalism. You're not going to be doing anything because we're here. We can call the police. We made sure that the local police knew what we were doing and said, if we need to call, we'll call. Now, I carry, so I had a gun with me, but I do that anyways, no matter where I'm going. But, we weren't there to provoke. We weren't trying to get guns out to try to say, I dare you. We just needed them to know you don't get to run roughshod over my First Amendment rights and my freedoms. You don't get that. You can get in Portland or Seattle where they'll allow you to peacefully protest by burning stuff down. We don't do that here. So
Yeah.
tell me, or the listeners out there, and I do believe that men should be at the forefront of this leadership and defending of these. But can you think of ways that since you're part of so many of these, that they can get some help and some volunteer protection, or is there stuff that they could use or need right now from perhaps local ministries or local groups of men that might want to help in a way that they wouldn't even know how to begin?
Well, I love that, Brad. I love that you did that. And I would say more men need to rise up and do that. And I would say call your local pregnancy resource center. Ask them what their needs are. Maybe they will say, hey, we could use some guys right now, at least for the next 30 days, to just hang out here and protect our property overnight. And I think that would be such a huge, not only just a huge blessing to these pregnancy centers, but it would be such a statement to make that, you know what, we're going to put our money where our mouth is. We are excited about what's happened, but we know that you could be in danger, and we're going to make sure that we're there. Their presence alone, Brad, can make a huge difference. And so I do, because I think basically these protesters who go around burning buildings and doing what they do, they're a bunch of cowards. They're just a bunch of cowards. They can't even sit in a room and have a civil conversation with you, but they can go throw some smoke bomb in or spray paint red paint. You bunch of wussies. That's what you are. And if you're so adamant about how you feel about things, then have a conversation with somebody like me. What are you afraid of? So stop hiding behind your cowardness. But when you're standing there, these little wimps are going to run away. They're going to scurry away. So I think that's something that's great for you to do. And hey, look, I'm all about protesting. I have no problem with protesting, but you better do it civilly, and you better do it by not breaking the law. When you break the law and cross the line, as we saw what happened with the whole BLM stuff, then I got a problem with you.
Yeah. Right, and we all did, and yet, depending on the administration, whether they're going to protect and defend the rights, they didn't even protect the rights of the Supreme Court justices' homes and their family. They weren't allowed to protest and to try to intimidate. That was illegal. So that's a problem. When you're a Christian and a conservative in America, and we just got this crazy victory, I mean, maybe the single most volatile decision that could have happened in the history of the U.S., except for maybe, the slave issue. If any time we needed the President of the United States to show that you do not get to destroy these buildings and these churches, that's not how we do a civil society. We need it now. And of course, they're nowhere to be found. So this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with people who have used the left Antifas and movements to destroy. Left does nothing but criticize and destroy. They cannot lift up anything. They cannot breathe life into anything because they're death. They're cancer. And so this is what Marxism has always been. It's what the Frankfurt School has always been. It's what postmodernism has always been. It led to nihilism. Nietzsche said, "We've killed God, and it's not a good thing. Now everything's we can do whatever we want. There's no morals. There's no constraint. So people that actually think realize that without morality, a civilization just is destroyed. So something happened with the Supreme Court that tried to make a statement. This is immoral, and so we're going to allow the people to decide what they are and aren't going to allow in their communities. And that's important. Like you said, it just went back to what it should have been all along. The Roe was a mistake from day one, horrible mistake, and millions of unborn children suffered for that. So that's it is what it is. But I really wanted to have you back on just because it was such a crazy thing that we were just talking about it, and 3 days later, the Grand Slam was hit, but I did want to talk about the men again. I wanted to go a little bit further in that. Let the men know that they're heard. If you're a man out there that lost a child through abortion, hey, it's not your fault, but maybe you did. Maybe you were one of the guys that said, go get that. You can be forgiven. You can be set free. I mean, this is what we believe as Christ followers. There is no sin that's worse or better than another one. All of sin falls short. So there's freedom, and coming from somebody like you who had the experience not only to have aborted, but had a boyfriend that pressured you, and then lived in agony for many, many years. I think hopefully you're letting men know that there is also a freedom that's available for you too. So is there anything else you'd want to say just to kind of wrap up this incredible week that our prayers have been answered beyond anything we could have imagined? Anything you'd want to leave our listeners with, or the people that will share this now over the next week?
I would say if you are a man or even a woman who has had an abortion in your past and you need help, I know that you're being triggered right now with all of the talk about Roe and everything you're hearing everywhere you turn around, abortion, abortion, abortion. If you have not gone through healing, I know what it's like to hear that word. I know what it's like to hear people talking about it. Please get in touch with me. You can go to my website, reassemblelife.com. reassemblelife.com. Write me, tell me who you are. It's confidential. I will get your email, or victoria@reassemblelife.com. Go to my website, find me. There is help for you. There are retreats. I'm getting ready, Brad. I'm working on my first men's Reassemble retreat. I've been doing the women's retreats for 25 years now, but now I have decided it's time for a men's retreat. And I have other men who will be conducting them with me. So I'm really excited about that. I'm hoping to do the first one by spring of 2023. So get in touch with me. There is help available for you, and follow me on social media, write me on social media. Look, there are resources available to you if you're in a crisis pregnancy right now and you don't know what to do and you're freaking out because your state is the one who is not offering abortions anymore. There are so many resources to help you that does not have to be your only option. Please reach out to me. People have said, are you adopt these unwanted children? First of all, Brad, I think there would be less unwanted children because I do think men and women, young people, are going to start stepping up and making better choices. And if this causes them fear to do that, isn't that a good thing if you're not sleeping around and risking your health, not just in a pregnancy, but contracting STDs, getting your heart broke as well by the guy who doesn't call you the next day, girls? I mean, I think that this is a good thing. Right now, it looks like it's horrible, but it's not. It's going to have some great positive outcomes for people. They just may not see them right now because, as I said, of the fear. So get in touch with me. I'd love to come speak at your church, your pregnancy center banquet. That's one of my favorite places to speak. I love going into prisons to speak. It doesn't matter. I think that there are so many people in prison that need after abortion recovery. They need it. They need to be loved on anyway. So no matter what, but that's it. I mean, I'm still so happy. I'm not, as I said, I'm not apologizing for it, Brad. Praise God for what's happened this week.
Amen.
I'm a 58-year-old woman who never thought I would see this happen in my lifetime. And I know there are people a lot older than me who've been in this fight a lot longer than I have and have paved the way. And thank God for them too. So thanks for having me, Brad. Anytime. I
Absolutely.
love you,
Anytime,
brother.
I'm sure we'll do it again, and someday we'll do it live when you're back in town. But and just to sort of let you know how much I appreciate, that your work and your dedication all these years, because it was people like you and those that went before you that did the dirty work and the hard grunt work and planted seeds and watered for years and years and years and years, and suddenly a harvest. So thank you, God. Amen and hallelujah. So have a great time while you're there. And we're going to get this out there so that people can get help from you, because I know personally what a great heart you have and how much your God uses you to heal people. So God bless you. And we will see you soon, Victoria.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you so much. That one a little bit longer, but again, it's a epic time in America. Roe v. Wade has been destroyed. I mean, it's important. It's crucial. We got a lot more to go. Who knows where it's all going to go? But fight. Be men. Stand up for these PRCs. Get out there and defend and protect them. Show that the right and the conservatives and the Christians will fight too. We will get our hands dirty and bloody necessary. We can't be offensive war. That's not allowed to the Christian, but we can defend and must defend at all first. If we're shot at first, we're allowed to defend justice. Listen, I'm so grateful you guys came on again. Sorry for the little glitch trying to get her on, but my son figured it out. God bless you, Wyatt. I never expected you to figure anything out, and sure enough, you did. It could be some remnants of what my loins had created.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm still riding the high of figuring that stuff out. I'm gonna be mentioning that in the past following days.
Well, I did want to say to you that is what we said, that we're going to get this thing that allows me to look straight ahead like I am right now and see the guests, so I can do this kind of a thing just like I did with Victoria, but I get to look ahead. So we're not going to have this. We're going to be getting rid of the laptop, so I can be a little bit freer to move and to function. We'll continue to bring on guests, continue to get the live guests once that happens. We're getting really close to that. Anything else, White, you want to leave the people with?
Yeah, I'm taking that laptop camera the moment we switch to this thing.
I
ain't letting nothing go away. That's a good camera.
It's a delicious camera. It's been great. Listen, if you believe in what I'm doing, if you think that having these types of guests standing up for, in a humorous way, conservatism, Christianity, defending Americans' values, the Constitution, if that's what you think that this is becoming and is growing and you want to be part of it, you can donate. We can give you the link, and you can do that to help us grow this. Everything is going to everything that allows me to put this together is where I've put the donations. It is a 501c3, so it is a tax deductible. I still have a few of these. This was the original CD that I found based on somebody, the Saturday Night Live guy that mentioned Rebel Without a Curse. It's a CD. So many of you won't be able to play it, but it is my original first ever recording of me performing. So if you want something that will never be made again, it's one of a kind, just say, hey, I want to donate. At least $50 would be helpful, because I got to spend $5 to send it. I will sign it to you, send it out. You will have a one-of-a-kind item. I only have, I don't know how many, and they'll be gone forever. I didn't even know I still had them, literally in a box somewhere shoved away. But listen, let us know how you like the show, anything else you'd like, any guests you might want to have on, any way that we might do things that you think will be better. We're still a little rough around the edges, but those who've been here from the beginning have seen how far we have come. So keep us in your prayer. We will come here every Monday. Now, next Monday is the 4th, so I don't know if you guys are going to be able to make it, but we're going to try to get a program out there anyways. So we'll see how that all pans out. But it's a special day, because that's the representation of this great country, the greatest country the world has ever known. And now this week has proven that maybe, just maybe, we can keep it that way, and that we do always try to right our wrongs. Let's at least give ourselves credit for that. Remember, this is God's Comic, Brad Stine on Brad Stine Has Issues. Please share this everywhere you can so that we can build this into something, hopefully, that can really change the culture one laugh and insight at a time. PC free is liberty. This is God's Comic Brad Stine. All I'm doing is putting the woke back to sleep. See you next week.
Cool.
Thanks, Whitey boy.
No problem.